Taking me back to the nights we felt alive, picking up the pieces on a summer night. I didn't know that I would feel just like my heart's on fire whenever I'm with you. Cause we go back in time to thrills I miss and all the things I wish we did. All I
Thing had a white. Oh yeah, there's a hole.
Is there?
Holy shit! She's fucked.
on the telephone, I know it's a supercut as you walk away, playing in my mind.
What's up, guys? And we are finally gonna have some time for Hyper Blue. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've already seen us break it. And race it. I guess that'd be the other way. Race it and break it. And today we're going to be diagnosing this thing. And all you guys want to see, what is the cause for the issue we had on the STI. And we take a look here. There's the cam gear and the bolt. And that bolt is not, get out of the light there, that is not a clean break. So here's the cam gear permit and the bolt. We're going to be figuring out why that happened today. We're going to diagnose it as if it was one of your guys' cars, and that means we're going to start with the basics. We're going to pull the radiator out of the front of the car so we can get more access to our timing belt, and then I'm going to try to put a cam gear down on that geez, I can't even think. A cam gear down onto the cam and see if it turns or we have any movement down there, because if it doesn't, then we got a lot bigger issues. And I might go as far as pulling the spark plug out of here to see if we even have a spark plug left. You know, if something really bad happened in that cylinder, then we are gonna see something. So that's what we're gonna be doing of this thing today. This is the video you guys all want to see, and you can see how dickered this thing is. Look at that. Yep. On to the adventure of what happened to the STI. Let's get started, guys.
From the past try to do me in, and I can't hesitate on the gas, and I'm here to win. Hold this pen, staring out the endo, know the end is near. Coming into focus, there's a chorus, feel it in the air. I can understand how a lot of rappers disappear. I can't understand how a man lives his life in fear. I got goals, matter of fact I got more. I got dreams in the lyrics, can you hear them? Can't fall. So it's non-stop, I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop, non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop. There's no plan B with me. Do you believe in me? There's no plan B with me. Do you believe in me? It's non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. I'm only going non-stop. You ain't prayed till you're staring at the ceiling, trying to be a better man, trying to wrestle all your demons, staring at my.
Welcome back, guys, and today I got a special video for you guys, something you guys have been asking for ever since it happened, and that is finally tearing apart this 8-second 1100 plus horsepower STI engine that we had our bucket failure inside the engine. So I do have a video of this. I'll go ahead and link it over to the side for you of when we first pulled this out of the car and what we did find into the head. If you're just tuning in, this engine was in our Hyper Blue STI, which now doesn't have some of the parts on it, obviously, because there's no fender exit anymore. It has its factory fender on it. But we have now, since then, and since this car, it's on the back burner right now, for those of you wondering what's going on with it, we have our new drag car. And this may not look like much, but like I said, if you're not following it and you're just tuning in, you probably should just go back a little bit and check it out, because we have a lot planned for this car, and we are finally going to tear down this motor to see what exactly happened that night that we did have the failure on it. Now I do know that the bucket inside of this head disintegrated, and that locked our camshaft, and when that did happen, it snapped this bolt off, sent the pulley out of the cover. As you can tell here, there's a big hole, bunch of stuff going on in there. So today we're finally going to get this thing torn apart, see what's going on. And this thing has about right around 1,100 miles on it. I know to a lot of you that doesn't sound like too many miles, but for a 4-cylinder at this type of power, and it is a street car that was driven many street poles, and we did do some track time on it where it went 9.1 and then it went 8.96, and we went back out, and that's when this happened. So we are going to finally see all the damage. So I want to see what the head gaskets look like on here, because we do use the Athena Firewalk gaskets on here. I would imagine, since this is a material gasket, as I've shown you guys before, and you will see that it says Athena right there in focus, this is a material. So I would imagine that where the coolant jackets come through, the gasket's going to be collapsed, but the main thing that matters is our fire ring. So I'm curious to see how that looks, do some inspection on it, and tear this thing apart. Now, as you guys can tell here, I have gotten some of the basics off of here, trying to make it so it's not as boring as possible for you guys. You guys have seen me tear apart many motors, so I got it down to the basics here. I went ahead and took the crank pulley off there, because that sometimes is a pain to get off there. Pretty tight press fit. So that way we can just jump right into this thing, see exactly what's going on, and see the damage. So let's get on it. So we got this thing tore down pretty much to where we can start to get these cylinder heads off of the engine. As you can see, that thing was kind of being a pain to get off there. I always do lubricate those crankshaft sprocket gears because of the fact of them trying to seize on there. So just make sure when you're putting that on, or you're putting your new motor together, this is the guy I'm talking about here. These are crankshaft sprocket gear. Make sure to lube these things. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pick up a new one of those. That way we don't have to worry, and it's a race car. So any kind of damage to these teeth here will throw things off. This one didn't get damaged. I'll put it in a spare parts pile. It looks like it's seeing better days, I guess. This must have been a spare one that made its way onto the car at one point, because it doesn't look like it's the original one that I used to use. So not sure. But this thing is ready to get these cylinder heads finally off of the engine and see what we're dealing with here. So pretty excited. This is a big moment. Let's go ahead, get those things off. Of course, we're going to be starting with the side that is completely damaged, so you guys get to see completely what's inside here, and we will see if anything else got harmed from this being damaged. I did notice on these when I was taking this apart, another note, this cam is no longer good. The keyway is ripped out of it, and the gear that it was in as well still has that keyway inside of there. So if you guys can see down in there, I know it's gonna be hard. There it is. You can see how bad that thing is turned in there. Literally tried to rip that one off too when this happened. So that is definitely something to be concerned about. The other gear had some damage here too. So definitely was not happy. So let's just go ahead, get that head off, enough talking, see what's going on. So those of you, like I said, if you're just tuning in or just now seeing the damage on it, this is what's going on. Here's obviously our cylinder head. I have our top cam out. This is our bottom cam, which was our issue with it. If we take a look here, and you can see just how messed up that camshaft is. So that got locked on the bottom down here. I'll go ahead and pull this thing out of the way. Maybe, hopefully, it'll give it back to me. Now that I sat it in here, now it wants it. Come on. What the hell? Bam. Alright. So, camshaft, lobe. Look at what got stuck on it right there. You can see a chunk of the bucket right down there. And that is literally what stopped the entire engine, was that. So, we're going to set this guy down here. This thing's junk. But, yep, there's that bucket right there. It's literally the top of the bucket too. So these buckets are obviously our shims. So you can take a look here, and I'm hoping this is focusing. On the bottom there, you can see that's the actual shim part of the bucket that pushes down on this valve spring and retainer there, which that thing's obviously seeing better days. I'm super happy it didn't drop the valve. That would have made things a ton worse, and we would be talking differently about this as far as the short block being questionably savable. I don't see any real issue behind that. But this thing is looking just as I expected. I'm gonna go ahead and continue, get the rest of this head off, and see what's going on. Look who showed up to the party right when the head gets pulled off. Really happy with this, guys. Yes, there's some minor spots where obviously it had touch valves, which that's not too surprising seeing that it jumped timing, but I mean, we're talking just like barely scuffed the carbon off of the piston, so can't be mad at that. The gasket also looks the best it ever has, and this is the most miles that we've ever had on one. Where I did say that it probably did collapse the gasket inside of the coolant passages. Right there you can see that it had collapsed it right there. So usually we were having them collapse there, there, and there, like all around. So that's actually really good. I'm happy with that. Our rings do not look like they're out of distortion. They're completely round, so that means that's a good sign. I'm not seeing a bunch of black escaping either. You would see black coming out around the cylinder here if we were having like a head gasket leak or blowing combustion out. So that tells us this gasket was sealing, everything was good to go. So that's a good sign. That head's junk, but that's a good sign, and of course it helps us with testing. So now we can go ahead and get this other head off, then we can pull our pan off. I want to see what's inside the pan because this will just be a backup engine for the race car. So I want to pull the pan off, inspect it, see if there's any metal in there. There shouldn't be. You know, we might see some stuff from the actual head when it broke that bucket, but that's all I'm going to expect to see there. Same deal on this side, everything looks good to go. pretty happy, honestly, guys. I mean, these rings were definitely doing their job. If you look at here, we don't have any signs of anything coming past these rings. So that means we're figuring it out. Things are going better. These things were definitely holding some power. Super happy with that. Obviously, these heads are no longer of use or any good. So these are just gonna go ahead and go into the parts pile. I mean, there is some stuff are good on them, but for the most part, nothing's really usable on these, or that I would, because these have been decked so many times. They're not really of use anyways anymore. So these things go in the parts pile. Now, the only thing that's left to do is pull off our oil cooler, pull off our oil pan, and let's inspect that oil pan. So we did get our oil pan off of here, and as I suspected, there is, I don't know if it's going to pick up on the camera here, but there is some fine metal, obviously from all that bucket that got destroyed. So that does mean that I am going to tear this motor down, because we're going to go through it, because obviously we have fine metal here. There's a chance it got through. Obviously that went for the bearing. That's not going to be good. It's not going to show signs right now, but eventually it will. So things that we're gonna have to do is we're obviously gonna have to pull these apart, see how the bearings look, which is good anyways, because then I get to see how everything is wearing in the engine, and some of the stuff that we're testing and the clearances that we're testing in the engine, see how they're working. So that is a plus side of this. And we are gonna have to pull our oil pump apart, because if we have fine metal here, there's a chance it got into that. So we want to make sure to go through everything that's oil system related to get all this metal out of here. It is really fine, but the really fine stuff, that's not good, because it could go into obviously anything that's oil system related. So we'll definitely have to go through this really closely. And for now, that's probably going to wrap up this for the short block. I'm just going to clean up the area. The rest of today of what I need to do is I want to go get the paint for the race car, because you guys saw we just tore this thing all down. Now I'm going to go get the paint matched so I can paint this engine bay and get it all cleaned up and ready so we can start getting this thing back together. I'll see kind of where we're at with this video to see if we're gonna split this case or not in this video. But for now, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up, go grab that paint, grab some lunch, and decide from there what we're gonna tackle today, or how far we're gonna go into this block today. Well guys, that is gonna finish up this video for today. I believe I made it a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. I did put in the first part of the video from, what is it, 5-6 months ago, just to kind of catch you guys up to speed. Like I said, I'll have that linked in this video so you guys can go back and check that out if you'd like. And I did get the paint, as you can see here, this is all mixed up. So we got 2 cans of really good base coat and clear coat for it, and I got some really good epoxy primer for that bare metal. Got some sanding stuff, so that way we can get this engine bay looking the way it should. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Got to finally see the internals of the engine and see that we really didn't hurt it as bad as we could have. So very happy about that. Yes, we might go further into tearing it down, just not today. We got a bunch of other stuff to get done, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Living life up in the fast lane. Hey.